Welcome, everybody. We have the June 24th meeting of the Conservation Commission on the Kansas flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First on the agenda, soil permit for Manny Alexander. Well, we'll skip that. Are you here for the Rebecca Eaton?
Yes, I am.
All right, we'll go to Rebecca Eaton, notice of intent 1 Havelock Lane, remove trees in the riverfront and flood zone.
That's your butters notification. Thank you, sir.
That is my notification, 6 butters. Thanks for making it, gentlemen.
Well, if the air conditioner wasn't working in here, it would have been a pretty quick meeting.
Well, I don't know.
And in this town, you have a better chance of the air conditioning not working than working. All right, Mark, go ahead.
My name's Mark Roberts from Analysis and Design Engineering, and I'm presenting a plan on behalf of Rebecca Eaton at 1 Havelock Lane off of Pine Hill Road. It's a small lane, and Chris, I think you're right, there is just one dwelling on that lane. What Ms. Eaton is wanting to do involves activities within the buffer zones of a salt marsh and a tidal creek, Allen Creek as it's called, tributary to the Westport River. We've got a rather flat coastal saltwater marsh with a step up right at the edge of the upland area, if you will. And then it continues to move up gradient towards the dwelling and the property. I'm showing here the 12 trees that Ms. Eaton is looking to cut down and then replace with shrubs in the area. There's a total of 12 trees right along the edge of the marsh. Proposing erosion controls right at that embankment where it steps down into the marshy area. Again, those 12 trees are on the property. They've been tagged and marked. I'm showing representative areas in these 2 zones to the north and to the south where we got some shrubs that we want to replace there. Those trees are to be cut down to grade, the stumps to be ground to prevent regrowth, and then subsequently the replanting of the shrubs along that area. I'm showing you here the 100-foot buffer zone, the flood hazard zone. This isn't a flood zone. AE elevation 12. The pink line represents where elevation 12 is on the property. And then lastly, we've got a 200-foot buffer to the Westport River and its tributary there too, Allen Creek at 200 feet. So that's what she's looking to do, get rid of those trees. They're some 50 feet tall. They completely block any vista to the river and to the view. And lastly, there's one tree that's on the abutter's property. We've got some correspondence that I submitted with the package. That tree's about 13 feet off the property line, off the stone wall. It's beginning to grow and encroach on the line. So she's looking while she's got the equipment down there to send the guys over, no equipment, and prune that side of the property where it's overhanging onto her property. And there's an endorsement letter from the abutter. Miss Moran, Ann Moran is the name, and she's got that's with the package. That's all I've got, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members, Rebecca Eaton, 1 Havelock Lane. This is a notice of intent application filed by Analysis and Design Engineering, Mark Rodricks. Report date is June 23rd, 2025. There is a file number. It's SE 802804 with no adverse comments. Site visit was also on June 23rd, 2025. Description of the work: the owner has filed to cut down 12 existing red maple trees varying in size. The trees exist along the lower portion of the property and within the riverfront buffer zone and flood zone to the Westport River. The stumps will be ground to grade and replaced with 20 shrub plantings with native species. That's what's proposed. The new plantings will be placed along the same general area as the existing trees. The owners will also trim 1 large maple that has branches extending over the property line from the north. As Mark mentioned, they have the abutters agreements on that. Wetland line was walked and is accurately shown. The property has a maintained field edge right up to these trees, so this isn't trees just sticking out of nowhere. They're actually on the edge of the actual maintained lawn. So the activity is closer to the BVW than anything, but it is within 100 foot, the activity is within 100 feet of mean high water limit of the riverfront and along this wetland edge. However, under the Rivers Act, it meets the minor exemption requirements because it's in excess of 50 feet from the mean high water jurisdiction. But in this case, this isn't vista pruning, this is actually a full tree removal, which again, as Mark mentioned, is more for a vista of the river beyond, and that's what she is proposing to get out of it. The recommendations: the Westport Conservation Commission should approve the tree removal and replacement with 20 new native shrub plantings with standard conditions, Mr. Chairman. That is all.
You happy with the comment? You okay with that? You good?
Yes.
Any questions?
Thank you for asking for permission first.
Did you already come down?
No.
No, sir.
No, I'm saying compared to everyone else in town.
No, she is trying to be compliant here, and she's been patient in getting this activity
Do you have the
done.
chainsaw running right now, ready to go?
She's got a company that's on standby now. Yes, sir.
Why cut them all?
I tried to reason, but,
You know,
so I asked, that's why I asked for the other species to replace it, just because she wanted something growing a lower. And she has Orestes property right beyond, so these trees are the only obstruction for, a 220-degree view, if not maybe more than that, so.
I mean, I know the property. She's got a pretty good view already.
Yes, I
You go from
understand.
having like a very good view to a great view, and you take down all the trees. Like,
Do you want to have put more bushes up there?
I just-
At this point?
How far are the trees from the edge of the marsh, in the wetland line?
They,
Right along the maintained lawn area, and then it drops into the marsh, so.
they're right
Pretty
over
close
where
to
the
the
steps lines
Yeah,
out.
yeah, they're probably, I'd say 6 to 8 feet in some areas from that
There's
edge.
only one that's very close, that's the small one that's
Yeah.
in the corner there, but they're about.
And these mature trees?
And
how big
maples,
are they?
yeah, maples you can't cut. If you cut them, they're gonna sprout and grow in 15 more, so that's why they're not really conducive to trim, and they can get,
Look out there for a while.
and they get very aggressive even when you trim them. So that is mostly the deterring factor for the trimming or maintaining of such. And I asked for the shrub species because I knew she was maintaining more of a visual aspect, so. If the commission maybe wants to enhance a couple more shrub plantings, that is acceptable with me.
I went from 12 to 20, so that's what we've got now, 12 seedling shrubs, replacing the 12 ones.
Maybe go 2 to 1.
I don't want to, I don't want to be difficult, and I hate telling people what they can and can't do with their yard. But I mean, it's just, I know Orestes property has almost no trees. I mean, she's got a very good view already. I mean, it's probably within the law, so I guess I'll vote for it, but it's one of those things where you just kind of hold your nose and vote for it.
All right. Anybody else have a question?
More trees.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. Make a look for a motion. Bert?
I move that we approve the tree removal and replacement of 20 new native shrub plantings with standard conditions.
So second.
All in favor? Opposed? All right, that's unanimous.
Appreciate that, gentlemen.
Yep.
On behalf of
Do we have to sign the
You don't got one on top? I blew you off, huh?
Okay, perfect.
No, let me go grab one. I must have messed up there.
Thank you, Chris. Keep Chris Dennis.
Yeah.
There's a beautiful stone wall
Yeah.
with a little pond.
Yeah.
Peter Orestes' place.
Okay.
Apple Lane is the butt of the
Is that before the blueberry?
just past it, Minnesota Road. But, because of the embankment,
Oh, you're up high.
up high, you get, the view is good. The view is fine, the trees there.
Yeah.
Whatever, there are trees.
Just wait, we need a signature pages for this last hearing.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
Take your time.
You guys with David Moore?
Yes, sir.
All right. Always done beach thing.
It was actually nice. Southwest winds,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
wasn't as bad. Yesterday was worse.
It was awful.
Oh, yeah, I went home for a meeting, I cut out and went right back on. That's what I was, your
We'll
son,
talk about
your
that
son
Sunday.
did.
Yep.
What she said, is he's not supposed to be medicine.
I know, he wasn't under the canopy, but I'm not. He's involved with it, so
You should,
You can't. You're authorized.
you should go down there and tell him.
I think he's like great, right? To be honest with
You should embarrass him.
you.
That's
All right, I
what
will
do.
from now on.
All right, I'll tell him from me and then they'll hate you more.
And-
All right, David Moore, notice of intent, 144 Cherry Wood Lane.
Thank you.
After the fact filing to construct elevated dune staircase, landing walkway, back dune plantings in coastal resource area, Barry Beach, land subject to coastal storm flowage.
Green cards, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening, gentlemen. Chris Frateroli, I'm a wetland scientist with Goddard Consulting on behalf of Dave Mora tonight. I think we are all generally familiar with this property to some extent at this point, but as a little bit of background, this came up as a result of an enforcement order a couple of years ago, lingered for a little while, and we're here to finally permit it with this after the fact notice of intent. So the enforcement order generally consisted of, two main elements. Was the construction of this staircase on the back dune slope here. That was constructed essentially embedded into the dune. So obviously not the separation that we're looking for typically. And then the second major portion was a variety of clearing kind of on this back dune flat area here. So our proposal at this point is to essentially keep that staircase, exact same footprint, elevated up on helical piles 2 feet above the dune surface to allow for that movement of sediment below. We got details of these over here, generally pretty standard. I did confirm with the engineers that those piles can be backed out to maintain separation if needed over time. So that's the stairs. When this initially came to you, there was a landing proposed at the top of that staircase. That has since been removed, so it is just access from bottom to top. The second part is to address kind of the clearing on this back dune flat area here. A couple of representative photos. You can see the stairs obviously embedded right in the dune. And then here is essentially the opposite view of this, looking back towards the house. So we put together a little planting plan and we went back and forth with Chris a little bit to find some more appropriate areas for those plantings. So what we're looking at here is a planting swath along this footpath here. You can see it's generally fairly poorly vegetated, as well as kind of along the back of the lawn here, kind of a transitional lawn zone. Lawn is a little generous, but again, a relatively sparsely vegetated area. Most of this zone where that understory clearing had occurred has kind of come back on its own pretty well in the intervening time. So we are looking at 19 black cherry plantings, 20 low bush blueberry, and about 250 plugs each of beach grass and switchgrass. So this was laid out a little bit to both provide some native plantings. That black cherry, beach grass, switchgrass all do really well there already, so we felt those were appropriate. We left it a little bit sparse because Natural Heritage is concerned with spadefoot toad habitat here. And their preference is more open sandy areas. So, we're putting vegetation in there, but also leaving a little bit of habitat for the toad. That seemed to be their primary concern as we had our pre-filing meeting with Heritage. And that is the gist of the proposal here. It's kind of been simplified a little bit since its first iteration. I will also note there was a shed that is shown on the site plan that has since been removed, so that is out of the equation at this point. So, any questions, I'm happy to answer.
What happened to get to the top of the stairs? Did they just go back to the top of the dune and just?
Yeah, it's just top of dune. So there is,
I got photos in the file, Mr. Chairman, but
Yeah, I mean, it's not a landing that you can put a chair and a table on, but it's just enough landing to be able to walk onto that surface.
All right.
So the elevation after that, is it steep going back down there to get to the beach?
Yeah, but he's, again, just for Chris, I didn't mean to speak out of turn here, but he's proposing just to get to the top of the hill and
Figure it out from there?
figure it out from there, which is pretty much what
Everyone else.
everyone else kind of does, but he does legitimately have some legal accesses that are described on recorded plans of Bristol County Registry, because this is land court land, and there actually is a few access paths that don't necessarily stay on his property, but he can go over towards the west and get onto that path and cut down.
So, yeah, on that topic, the plan does show a sketch that was recorded
Did you
in
see it,
land
Mr.
court.
Chair?
That kind of meanders, again, comes on and off property, and it's only vaguely reflective of the actual access that's used out there today. So we did have the site plan to just kind of state
This is at the
general
very
path, to kind of limit off-target foot traffic and just have it sort of.
You see the top of the stair there, and then this is what, as you look down beyond.
Are we open to discussion?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, this has been a long run out ordeal, obviously, but it seems like the grade going from Chernobyl Lane up to where the stairwell ends, it's not really steep. It wouldn't be a whole lot different if it was just a walking path.
No,
You know,
no,
right.
this
Is it steep?
It's really, yeah,
Is
it's
it?
like,
Okay. All
this
right.
is like the steepest section.
it's like a 35-foot elevation gain.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Along that length of staircase there.
This is legit. You could, and I know some people do, with a little rope and pull themselves up, but no, this is, the whole intent
Yeah.
was to get up and over. Once you get over, I think, as we all agreed, is it's miserable to come back home, but that's what Mr. Morrow would like to construct. I'll read my report, and then maybe that'll help.
Oh, yeah.
David Morrow, 144 Cherry and Webb Lane. This is a notice of intent with Chris Fradioli from Goddard Consulting. June 23rd, 2025 is the date of the report. This is file number SE 802795. As Chris mentioned, we do have natural heritage and endangered species comments. And also, I was on the site again on the 23rd of June. Description of the work: the owner has filed to comply with the enforcement action taken for the coastal dune alterations and stairwell constructed up to the back dune at 144 Cherry and Webb Lane. The after-the-fact NOI has been submitted with proposed coastal dune restoration plantings, maintaining the 4-foot walking path and an elevated staircase, elevated 2 feet above the dune per the Wetlands Protection Act. The existing stairwell will be removed from the back dune, as this was timbers built right into the dune, which is where the adverse effect had occurred. A new helical pile design stairwell will be constructed within this disturbed area. The plan references maintaining a 2-foot separation from the dune to allow movement per 310 CMR 10.28 A through F, which are the conditions for coastal dune activities. The applicant has agreed to restore the disturbed areas with native coastal vegetation in 2 remaining areas. This enforcement order dates back to 2019, so there's been a few years now that this area has been able to reestablish. After my site visit to the site and where Goddard was constructing, or proposing rather, their enhancement plantings, I felt that area was already natively bringing itself back. Not to the height it was, but it had all the species there. I thought it would cause more of a disturbance. So specifically, where he had that walking path, he's been maintaining it on the east side to the point where there's nothing growing, because I think he keeps weed whacking it. So, and immediately behind the house, he kind of kept maintaining it in an area he had a dog or a shed, as he mentioned. So I think this is where the area should be concentrated with the plantings. After discussion with Goddard, they agreed after a little kickback from the landowner, but he understood what my concerns were. I'm trying to get him to be in compliance with something that's been outstanding for many years. I'm not disputing that he has the right to get to the beach, but he was trying to add more to this project than I felt was necessary at this time. And that was trying to access all the way to the ocean. So they also, at the top of the stairwell, had a proposed 12 by 12 platform landing. It's right in the middle of the dune, as you could see, although they were trying to place it beyond that area. I just don't think the dune is meant for recreational use. I think it's meant to get up there and proceed to the beach and do your thing. So after a little throwback, they reduced it from 12 by 16 to 12 to 12, 12 by 12 rather, and then they eliminated it totally. So I think now what Mr. Moore and Goddard is representing is something that strictly brings the site back into compliance. It satisfies the outstanding enforcement order specifically. So our recommendations for the board is the Westport Conservation should vote to remove the enforcement order and allow the restoration and the new elevated stairwell as shown on the revised plan dated June 4th, 2025, with an issuance of an order of conditions for file number SE 802795. Special conditions for the elevated walkway is to maintain a 2-foot separation, even when the dune may accumulate sand, removal of the old access stairs, and restoration with the shrubs and the tree plantings as Goddard has provided in an attachment that you see there before you. That is all, Mr. Chairman.
It's just gonna go, they have to, it has to grow in, what's it, 2 years?
Yeah, there is a 3-year time frame, but yes, they should have a 2-year replacement to maintain at least, hopefully, 75% of that growth.
All right. Any other questions, guys?
Chris, is this property for sale? Are there new owners, or is it?
The property may still be on the market. That's one thing I discussed with the owner, that, you know, he was trying to enhance something that I know is on the market, so why don't we just finalize what was the violation and go from there. So that's, yes.
My concern with that is it going to be specified that the new owners can't do more than what is already?
Yeah, disorder conditions would be recorded at the registry, and I think I can't guarantee that no landowner or new owner would think they can continue to.
So are we going to include in that order of conditions no Moby mats, platforms, or man-made walkways through those dunes?
We can state that if you'd like.
I just know that there had been some issues with some bird monitors from this property owner dealing with piping plovers that were nesting on the beachfront. So appreciate it if it was probably at least laid out more detailed.
That's fine.
New owner does that.
The plan does reflect those changes of what has currently been revised, but no, if you wish to make it clear that we're referencing that the Moby mats are not to be placed or any wooden structures in the dunes.
I mean, as we know, the town doesn't even put Moby mats in for their access from the parking lot to Cherry Wet for that, exact reason. So,
Yep.
thank you.
All right, any other questions?
So if we approve this as constituted, this is, I guess, a question for Chris. Does it open the door for any, does it make it easier to expand upon this down the road as, as in addition to an existing structure?
I would say no. They still have to abide by the regulations, and the regulations is specific about how you traverse across a dune, and
Have to be elevated, right?
it has to be not necessarily elevated, but you can't impact the vegetation. So this property immediately goes downhill on a 45-degree angle. This property is not conducive for an easy access to the beach. So if somebody wanted to commence that, they certainly could, and I would recommend more of a boardwalk structure until you got to the lower elevation. This area is also very volatile because it's open and it's not vegetated. So this area is why Mr. Mora caused some adverse damage to the dune, is because he removed that vegetation. The wind was able to push that sand forward, and in some cases, in my opinion, this dune moved about 3 to 4 feet in one area because of that lack of vegetation. So if anybody wanted to do anything in there, it's going to have to be as Mr. Miranda did, considered maybe in a very dramatic effect, but someone could consider it.
But we could also vote
Condition it.
Vote it down, or condition
Yes.
it, or vote it down, okay.
Right, and,
So-
and
so
see,
one, you know, like
and
a-
with what they
Yeah, totally
proposed,
agree.
Natural Heritage really never commented on them accessing the water, per se. So comments with the other similar projects, Natural Heritage wants you to stay confined to one path. So they would try to dictate that that path be corridored off, fenced in, snow fencing, stuff like that, to keep you all on the same path. But that's where I encouraged, as he discussed, that there are other paths that are used by many others that would make sense to. Or I also said that he can go use Cherry and Webb's axis, which is a lot easier than trying to, but. So yes, it could. As we have seen, we understand as a commission, no one's ever come into the community with the magnitude of a project like Mr. Miranda came before us. And it still hasn't come to fruition for that last part with a helicopter installing this massive 60-foot long gangway over a ravine of dune. So this is just as difficult of an area. And again, I would say to you, if once you came back up the hill, you may not want to do it again, especially on a day like today. But
Okay. You just, you know, you can open.
Kids would.
Open a can of worms.
Yeah.
You know, somebody comes in 2 years from now and they claim hardship, you know, oh, my dune is too steep, I need to extend. because,
but the regs are very specific in dune activities, very specific.
And
You
it-
can't alter, you can't disrupt the movement, natural movement of sand. You can't impede the ability of that sand to move or blow and create dunes on other areas. But because this is very lacking vegetation, this area is like a blowout. They call it a blowout on the dune. So you have these big scarps of sand that the wind blows around, and it looks like a little precipice of vegetation hanging on to its very last, because the wind can get pretty, so, generally.
And one more question, is there any, like, the 2 foot above the dune per the Wetlands Protection Act?
Yep.
Is there any leeway in that, the 2 foot height? And I'm thinking about like wildlife passage, you know, a 2 foot high platform will not allow a deer to pass for the most part,
Right, but
right? 3 foot would.
well, they might avoid this area because the deer aren't walking on the straight face. They usually would try a little terrace. Once you get to the top, the dunes are active with wildlife movement. But under the regulations, 2 foot is the minimum, and they have to maintain that. To get a stairwell with a more maximum height like that, Mr. Zanis did do it, and he has, you know, a much more dramatic, and he's got plenty of height, but the law says 2 feet is the min, so.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. So do you someone want to make a motion and add, what did you want to add? You want to make a
Yeah,
motion, Dave?
I can make a motion, obviously based on Chris's recommendation of, obviously voting to remove the executive order.
Wait, one second. Did we remove the enforcement order once it's revegetated, or should we wait till it's revegetated?
I would remove the enforcement order now, Mr. Chairman, because the enforcement order was initiated to get the NOI filed,
All right.
and they have complied with that side of
All
the
right.
project.
Good enough.
So my motion will be, we will vote to remove the enforcement order and allow the restoration and new elevated stairwell as shown in the revised plan. The elevator walkway will maintain a 2 foot separation, remove old access stairs and restoration. I'd also amend that to include no man-made built platform at the top of the dune or Moby mats to access or go through the dunes.
I mean, I think at this point, you probably just say no further construction beyond
Yeah.
top of the dune.
Okay, so then just amend that to no further construction beyond the top of the staircase.
Yeah.
And there are no rails, right? It's just, there are no
Uh,
handrails.
Yeah,
well,
there is.
The plan doesn't show any rails.
Is it
I-
applicant intent, I mean,
I have not had that in-depth of a discussion with him, but, you know,
It's
if
pretty
that,
steep, I think you want it around.
yeah.
I think probably for safety, you probably want a rail, if that's something that
That's
we want to
okay.
condition in here too? that
You're
would
gonna
be
want a rail
appropriate?
coming up and down those stairs just for slipping
least
on
on
the
one
sand.
side, right?
Yeah, you slip on the sand just alone, you're gonna,
Forget about it.
there is a little landing associated with it, as you can see, so you go up, you got a landing, you go up, you got a little landing, so there, but still, yes, you want a handrail.
So my concern, my hunt deer quite a bit, and we have a lot of coyotes around here. And those deer get pushed around those dunes, and those deer will get penned up against the 2-foot stairwell with rails. If no rails, they jump over, 3 feet, they go under, but they'll get pinned in and they'll have, whatever the length of the thing is, where they'll be at a disadvantage. And that's why I was concerned about wildlife passage.
I get that, yeah.
Because when they get pushed, and they've
Yeah.
got to be able to outrun the coyotes, and if they can, if they have to go right or left, then they.
Yeah, the staircase doesn't help.
It doesn't help, doesn't help. Okay.
All right.
We need a second?
So I'll second it.
Oh, I didn't know that, but Jake made the motion, thank you. All right, all in favor? Opposed? All right, that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, gentlemen.
General Ceremony notice of 10 River Road, construct single-family dwelling with driveway, garage, other site improvements in buffer zone, void vegetated wetlands. We're gonna continue this, Chris?
Yes, continue, Mr. Chairman, I don't know
4
when,
weeks?
I would say 4 weeks, yes.
Not sure what that is exactly, 4 weeks.
With the 8th of July is the next one.
For the 22nd?
It might be the 22nd.
Not the 22nd, yeah. So we're gonna look for a continuance to July 22nd.
I'll make a motion to continue to July 22nd.
Second from Jake, all in favor? Opposed? All right. We have a soil permit for Manny Alexander, 111 Main Road, soil permit for 494.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. This is Manny Alexander, 111 Main Road. This is a soil permit removal for property again at 111 Main Road. The report date is June 23rd, 2025. The site visit was also on June 23rd, 2025. Description of the work: the owner has applied to renew their stockpile transfer site soil permit number 494, for 1 year. The owner stores earth materials for use. The area is stabilized and permit renewal is in order. Recommendations: the Westport Conservation Soil Conservation Board should approve the permit number 494 for Manny Alexander for 1 year.
Where is this, Chris?
He's just from Justin's place.
Corral?
He's right next to, what's her name? Oh God, Morton's. Joan Morton.
Motion to approve, soil permit.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Opposed? All right, that's unanimous. I'm gonna say unanimously, on the names on there. I'm sure he's saying that. Yeah. All right, we have a bill for our max dues, $475. Need a motion to pay.
Motion to pay.
We have a second? All those in favor? Opposed? All right, that's unanimous.
Thank you.
East Bay Media Advertising for, I didn't see what hearing it is, but for a hearing anyway. Need a motion to pay?
Motion pay.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. East Bay Media, another $430 for a bunch of hearings. Need a motion to pay?
Motion pay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's $430.50. WB Mason, this is just for a comment. We have credit, $42.08. Just letting you guys know that.
Do we have to do
Thank
anything on our credit?
What's that?
Do we have to approve the credit?
No.
No, it's some extra staples.
Before July 1.
We get some non-skid paper clips, these little pink ones are cute, but they don't really work.
I knew you were wearing colors tonight.
All right, that's all I have. Do you guys have anything on this, guys? Chris?
Just wanted to let the board know I sent a letter from, for the Pine Ridge Estates comments to the ZBA. Member Phil Weinberg had penned a letter to a meeting that he and I attended about the stormwater management that they're proposing, leaning towards the infiltration requirements under the stormwater handbook. The letter is just referencing our meeting and expressing that the commission still would be holding the engineer responsible for meeting the maximum extent feasible for infiltration requirements in that development. Other than that, I have nothing to bring to you at this time.
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.